innovation. This is a word that people use. They say, hey man, innovation is the new, isn't it? I'm like, no bloody way, because I think innovation is out, and I think it's about invention. And why is that the case? Here is a very good example of it. This is the official word of last year. Tears of joy. How do you find that shit in the Oxford Dictionary? Before, I thought it was A to Z. Now we've entered a new vocabulary, which we're all enjoying it. So innovation is about change. Invention is about creation. And that's the opportunity, I think, that affords you today in this marketplace. I can tell you right now, we need more bloody emojis. Because I can't tell you what's the most overused word. Can anybody tell me what the most overused word of last year was? So I travel a bit, spend a lot of time with brands. When I go into meetings with you lot, what do you think is the most overused word that I hear? Busy? Is that what you said? Busy? I love that. If you did say that, no. Anyone else want to talk to me? Not yet? Millennial? Yeah, no shit. Anything else? Sustainability. Holy shit, really? I'm loving that. Check this out. Disruption. How many oh, yeah, there it is. I'm going to use it 50 times now. Here's the deal. I can't tell you how many times I walk into a room like, dude, we need to disrupt. I'm like, awesome, how are we going to do that? They're like, well, let's use some technology. But that's the problem. When you think about it, it's not just technology. You need to think about your business model, because that's the thing that sucks ass. And if you do think about it, what's amazing for me is this. These are all of the words that I'm hearing this year. Can anybody tell me which word you think is going to be the word of this year? I'm just going to do a quick focus group with you. Oh, I love storytelling. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I think that's the most overused word of every year. How about this bad boy? I think it's bloody experience. I can't tell you how many people are like, brand is an experience. I'm going to abuse the hell out of that right now. Because here's what's fascinating for me. If you understand human needs, it's half the job of fulfilling it. Period. Full stop. If you get that right, guys, you're going to be way ahead of the curve. Because here's what's happening. Whether you stand at a whiteboard on a solid, I don't know what day, Tuesday, and we do a quadrant, and we think, hey man, let's think about who we're targeting. Strivers, believers, makers, achievers. Yeah, let's do quadrants. Awesome. Creative Monday mornings, Tuesdays, love that. But here's what I prefer to think about. Even it could be Maslow's rule of hierarchy, couldn't it? Think about, well, let's think about shelter and love and esteem and yeah, man, beautiful, ethereal. But then I think the triggers is this. Understanding that technology is changing our behavior, what it isn't changing is our need. Thank God. Because we're humans in our DNA, our needs are wrapped up in the culture of where we are, and you can never change it. So here's an example of 3D in the wild, or human needs in the wild. 3D Tinder, how good's that? If you don't know what Tinder is, you guys can Google that shit later. You know, you scumbags. But here's what's amazing about this. There's this sense that we all want to be connected as humans. Yeah, man, absolutely. Now, is technology enabling that? Possibly. But I think of this guy when I think of the connected human. Yeah. That's the guy I'm going to be walking around with today with my Google Glass on. But here's what I think is interesting about that, right? So when we talk about human needs, we suddenly go to the different types of realities. And by the way, there's 4. There's augmented reality, which is the ability to overlay digital and physical, and that's Pokemon Go is the best example. I guess you guys can play around with. There's virtual. We know what that bad boy is. That's one of the topics du jour. Anybody have a pair of VR goggles in this room? Yeah? How often do you wear them, mate? All the time? Every day? For how long? About 10 minutes a day, something like that. If you think you're going to spend 18 hours in your basement with a pair of these bad boys on, I beg to differ. Most of us have probably tried them on for 5 or 10 minutes and think that's a really interesting idea. But will it take off? Don't know. We need more people like you to make this thing happen. The other reality we have is real reality. What we're doing today, I prefer this, dude. I much prefer real reality. That's kind of where I'm grounded upon. And then we have mixed. It's the idea of pushing around augmented reality in physical sense, and that's HoloLens by Microsoft. That's Magic Leap. This stuff is coming to you. And you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with those shiny toys. Because there are people, I kid you not, on this planet that doesn't give 2 shits who's around them. And that's somebody I took on a train, and they couldn't care less what's going on because the immersive content that you see in those experiences are worth it. Like this guy. You know, I love these immersive experiences. Now, what's also fascinating is this. Here's the golden opportunity. Today, when you go and watch a film, if you and I sat down and watched a film together, it's a linear story. So if we laugh at a scene and I cried at a scene and we had different emotions happening at the same time, you can't change the content because it's a director's point of view. And that's what's been going on for way too long. The reality is, as soon as you put those bad boys on, you are now into lateral story. You are the person who's going to be the director of your own content and experiences. And it's going to change dramatically in the future. If you think VR content today is good, wait till you see what really happens. Because look, roll it back to many years ago. What happened was the first TV show ever produced or broadcast was a radio show filmed. How crap is that? So if you think VR is amazing today, it's nowhere near as amazing where it's going to be, because what's happening is a lot of startups are building sensors inside the goggles. So they can determine whether you laugh or whether you cry at a scene. So we're going to build content that changes and manifests. But until then, what you have to deal with is something that's a bit like, this. This is a room that you can sit in, and it simulates different things. So you're in this cage simulating different experiences. Now, this is an example of one that you put the goggles on, you're in this cage, and it simulates what it's like to be on a roller coaster. I would argue if you need to be in a room that big on a cage like that, just go on a bloody roller coaster. But that's just me, grounded upon reality. Here's the problem. Most brands are like, look, dude, I get this digital bullshit, Shingy, it's all good, we understand. I'm like, awesome, how much your marketing budget goes to TV? They're like, well, 80%. Okay. Understand digital my ass. But what I do think is incredible is this. You produce a piece of content, and most of it's 30-second TV spots, and you ram it across all your digital experiences and say, yep, they all should perform amazingly well. And you're stunned when they don't. And part of it is production. So when production costs come down and you're able to do it, the reality is you'll be producing content on platforms where people really engage. And I love what Samsung are doing. God bless them. I know they're having a hard time right now. It's not their problem. It's the battery. However, here's the deal with these. You're able to produce 360 content today, and I love that in places like this. Now, what's happening is that these sort of products have been put in the hand of the creators. And it's interesting because it's about experimentation. So whether you push somebody out of a plane and hope they land without a parachute, or you tie your phone up to a wire and head down a ski field and put in slow-mo, you can end up with incredible content that gives you a point of view that's different. And that's important because distinction in the way things look and the iconography of content is also vastly important to your identity as a brand. And this, at risk, is an $800 phone being busted. That's it, and you produce amazing content otherwise. So we're seeing additive technologies and subtractive technologies when it comes to wearables. Probably the most extreme I've seen recently is this. This is called the gaze. This is a 3D dress that will morph and change based on the person looking at you and you determining whether you want to attract or distract them. Dude, how crazy is that? I'm pretty sure it doesn't make that rattlesnake sound, but dude, I could do with this in New York subway, I can tell you. Okay, so if you think about it, we started with cinema, and then we went to telly, didn't we? And now we have this bloody thing to deal with, and guess what? Now you're meant to market on that. So good luck. But this is what's fascinating for me. You've now got square, rectangular, circular. You've got these different shapes and sizes where we're thinking about the way of the content that gets delivered on these devices if people start actually taking this category on. And where it becomes fascinating for me, it's all based on sight, sound, and motion. To do what? Drive emotion. Why? 75% of purchase decisions today are made emotionally. They're not done rationally. We sell to the heart, we justify to the head. That's what we are as humans. And that's beautiful because we lose faith in that occasionally. Why? Because at marketing school, we're taught these 4 Ps, aren't we? Product, price, placement, blah, blah. These were invented in the 40s. It's incredible because this has been replaced today with this. It's about platforms and partnerships and pedigree, etc. And what I love about that is that these things combined is a new world. And it has changed since I grew up as a kid. That is my family. She wasn't kidding. I'm just going to emoji them. But what I do think is interesting, though, at 17 when I bought my first car, Moke, Californian. And by the way, the only reason I'm a prophet is because I'm first planker on the planet. Whatever, dude, joke to self. But hey, at 17, I bought my first car. I felt freedom, independence, and self-expression. I'm of that generation. You know, we love cars as Aussies. But what I do love is this. Children today get their expression early. 37% of children under the age of 2 can operate your swiping devices better than you. But when you give them analog, they think stuff's busted. And this is the new world order. Can you watch that all day? Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Kids. But what I can tell you is this. If you think about it, when people say, hey, well, what's the future of digital marketing? No more. Let's not use that word digital. I've got it in my title. I'm screwed. But here's what's amazing. When you talk to kids, currency, it doesn't matter whether it's physical or I transfer money via Venmo. It's all currency. If I look at things like toys, it doesn't matter whether it's a physical toy or a screen toy. It's all toys. If I look at things like games, it doesn't matter whether it's a controller or it's a board game. It's all games. And if I think about things like images, it doesn't matter whether it's a Snapchat's disposable image or on a billboard. It's all image in context. And so there is no translation anymore. It's all the same. But what is different is that consumers are no longer just consuming content. Those days are dead and buried because now what you've got to deal with is the creator, the critic, and the curator of experiences. And welcome to these bastards, the slash gen. These are now the guys who believe they're this, don't they? Photographer, DJ, fashionista, amplifier, ambassador, influencer. You have to deal with these cats. These are the next generation of young adults who you guys all want to sort of get in bed with. So the reality is, in 2006, I coined a phrase, defriend, unfollow. And the reality is it's happening now where people are cleansing the brands that they care about and they're only following the people they want and they're closing their network down to have intimacy. And it's interesting because if you think about what's happening today, people really want to do this. They actually want to have gratification. They want to spend time with their family and friends. They want to be true to themselves. They want to be financially stable. These are young adult feelings. They actually, if you think about it, the way that they act and the behaviors they've adopted are more like their grandparents and their parents' generation. They just have a different way of expressing it. They use on average 3 devices per day, 3 screens, that is. And in addition to that, one of the number one reasons why they do is because they're bored. Now, I'm of a generation that when the sun came up, my parents would boot me outside and say, don't come in till the sun goes down. Now, that background, or the playground that I grew up in, today is a screen for most kids. And it turns out that the vast majority of them, 96% of them, are actually bored, and 90% of them go to a screen for entertainment. And that's something that you have to reconcile with. So, okay. Where are we at? We're at a place that if you think about this environment of achieving happiness, and if you think about it, the world is absolutely overwhelmed. You're hit with 1,900 media messages per day. Laura said it's on average 31 hours, but it's 1,900 media messages. And 250 of those are blatant ads. The rest is masked media. And then it's underwhelming because you can't find what you're looking for, dude. About a dozen times a day, if you think about that world of media overload that's happening. So, again, as I said, about a dozen times a day, my leg or falls vibrate. I suffer from the phantom phone vibration syndrome, which I'm told is akin to having a cocaine habit, but there's that. But what I'm told is this. If you think about the attention economy, because that's the only thing that matters, it's the only thing we don't value is 24 hours in the day. It's how you assign your ability to that attention that matters. And some people are saying there's going to be pushback. This is called the no phone. This is actually the selfie no phone. That has a reflective screen on it. It's a block of plastic. So if you feel like you need to hold something, hold a block of plastic with a piece of screen on it. That's your selfie phone. It retails for $15, sold out. Can't make this shit up. You've got other companies that are trying, let's go back to actually having keys on our phone. And this thing only makes calls, send text. I would use that one time. But amazing to think about what's happening in the slow movement. I don't know how to bring up the mobile quiz, so I'm going to skip over that because I just want to keep going on this particular device. This is the one I care about. And I only care about mobility because of this reason. Today, it doesn't matter where I go, we all suffer from the same problem, don't we? Tech neck. We all head down like this, man. Couldn't give a shit. Distracted from everyone else, but only attracted to this particular device. And it's incredible because if you think about it, we were all talking about solo mo, socially, locally, mobily. Very important, man. But if you think about it, it actually should be called homo because it turns out there are more minutes performed in mobile minutes in the home than outside. So it's really interesting to see what's happening in the psyche of people. And boy, do we over-index here. 149% of the population have mobile phones. Virgin love that. Here's what's fascinating. So a bunch of you have 2 phones, dude. You have a home phone and you have your work phone. I would rubber band that shit together and call that life personally, but whatever, dude. We like to have mobile connections here. But look, the experimentation in there is absolutely critical because in 1997, I used to be able to text message Coca-Cola vending machines and interact with their products. We're slowing down our experimentation. And part of that reason is we have crappy ads still on wonderful looking websites. We have crappy apps. I live in North America. Great. I actually live in New York City. Starbucks just shows me a map of North America. Genius. And then this is an app I paid, I think, $1.99 for, which is how long can I hold down my thumb for on my iPhone screen. That's the sort of stupidity I'm buying out there. That's why there's billions of stupid apps. But what I do love is the blue sky opportunity of what? This. The vast majority of what you do on that device is what? App-driven. We're all about apps. But the challenge with that, guys, is this. We download fewer. We spend more time on the ones we already have. It turns out that most of us will try a mobile experience once. And just think about your own behavior. When was the last time you downloaded an app and what did you do with it and how often have you used it since? It turns out that if you do get it right on that device, about 80% of them become a power user. It means they really care about your brand when it comes to mobility. And we will shift the world today, which is awareness-based advertising, into advocacy. Because as the world goes to closed, interconnected networks, it's about peer-to-peer. So advocacy is going to be more important because people's behaviors are influenced by their peers more today than ever before. So what else is hot? Let's talk about some heat here. The reality is this. 75% of women under the age of 25 care about brands. And they care about brands, really, if you think about it, they care about a brand's persona. They don't care about its price. They care about its persona. And that's why they give a shit about it. So if you're able to think about that, if that's the psyche of people, what are you doing as a brand as an experience? Because if it's principles over price, that's a new opportunity for you. And experiences come in multiple ways. Maybe part of that is reinventing your product. Carlsberg beer understood that the ingredients of their beer could make a great shampoo and conditioner. So they did a limited edition product. How dope is that? If the beer business goes down the shitter, they could be in the cosmetics business.